Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the GuideTech Podcast. Today we are recording episode number 18. Today I'm your host, Garrett Shackelford. I'm joined with my co-host, Hunter Runge. And today's a little bit different. Logan's out of town, taking a much-needed vacation, but we actually have Joel Morrow back. Joel, last time we had him on, we were in Montana. Ryan Bassam with Road 100 was kind enough to have us up there. But Joel, how have you been since then, man?
Been pretty good, man. When we went to Montana in May, we had just wrapped up trade show season and all those crawfish bowls and stuff like that we were doing on the Gulf Coast. So it's been a somewhat relaxing summer in our industry. Like I've still had to go to trade shows and go a bunch of places, but been pretty good. We're just coming off the Delta Waterfowl this past weekend. Got to throw a big party, see a bunch of our outfitters and partner brands. So kind of on a high right now. I'm not gonna lie. It's been good.
Yeah, definitely. The all the stuff on social media about the party, it definitely gave me FOMO. I know I've been telling everyone on the team, like, super jealous that I wasn't able to make it out there. Hunter, how was the show for you, man?
It was fantastic getting to run around and see everybody and kind of experience Baton Rouge. It was an amazing experience, and the food. Oh my God! Don't even get me started on the food down there. And getting to see all the brand partners, and everybody at Mallard Bay and all those guys, and then of course the party at Fred's was absolutely fantastic. So overall, it was an amazing experience.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm glad both of y'all had a good time. Again, I'm super jealous. Joel, before we get into the topic of today, I think it'd be really important for you to kind of reiterate what your role is here at Mallard Bay for those of you that don't know, that haven't met Joel, or who have forgotten. Joel plays a super important role here at our company. So Joel, go ahead and just kind of break it down, what your day-to-day looks like and what you're doing here.
For sure, man. So like Garrett mentioned at the beginning of the call, I'm one of the co-founders. Me, Logan, Wyatt, and Tam been running this thing for a couple years, and it's been crazy to see the way that it's changed and evolved over time. My role in the day-to-day is I'm the chief operating officer, so I'm kind of making sure that all of our different departments and teams are integrated, rowing in the same direction, but also sticking to the budget. So also involved with a lot of the product development and product vision. So hopping on calls like this with our outfitters or even new potential clients, getting a better understanding of their needs, and then making sure that the development team has a good understanding of those needs and can execute on them and have the proper resources to do so. But my main role, and a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today, is managing our finances and making sure that all the millions of payments that are running through our platform are being properly allocated, the proper percentages are being allocated here and there, and all of that is tracked and organized in a good fashion. But also managing Mallard Bay, our company's own expenses. And I think through this whole process of the last couple of years is I've learned that cash is king, right? You hear it all the time in business school or in books and stuff like that. But when you are really running the day-to-day operations and trying to make sure that you have enough money to make payroll, cash flow is king. And that's really what I wanted to talk about on the show today, because a lot of what I've done over the last year or so have been hopping on with outfitters, running through their projections of, what do you think you're going to do this year? What do your expenses look like? And really, from my understanding, one of our most on the ball outfitters has always been Whiskey Slews, and Hunter in particular, who has just a really good grip of cash flow in his business. So I have a variety of questions I'll be asking him about all of that. And then also another backdrop is, Mallard Bay and GuideTech, we've really been working for the last several months on building out a whole new suite of tools around the financial management of an outfitter. So being able to mince deposits when they're coming through and really have that clearer view of your business and what your finances look like, and doing that all through the GuideTech dashboard in real time. So yeah, definitely part of it is going to be me just picking Hunter's brain, getting a better understanding of how they got to where they are, but also just trying to draw out some insights that, a newer outfitter or someone that's interested in learning more about this is interested to hear about.
Yeah, and I think one thing is, before we get into this, Hunter is only 23 years old. You just turned 23 years old.
Just turned 23 last week.
Exactly. And so, well, happy belated birthday, Hunter.
Thank you.
To Joel's point, Hunter is one of the most financially astute and well understood what he's doing with his finances when it comes to the outfitter industry, the guys that we're working with. And so I think it's super important to emphasize that if you are an outfitter who doesn't feel like they have a full grasp on their finances, how their projections are modeling with their pricing, anything like that, this is a podcast you're definitely going to want to listen to. Hunter has such a well understanding of this. So please make sure you tune in. And I'm just going to throw it out there now before we get to the end. But if you know someone who owns an outfitter who could use this, make sure to share it with them. Make sure to give it to them. The goal of this podcast is just to help other outfitters. It's to help them be able to get a better grip on their business, grow and streamline. their operations. So, Joel, I'm going to hand it off to you, man. I know you have a list of questions that you want to get to with Hunter, and I'm going to be just kind of sitting here chipping in and a fly on the wall.
Absolutely. So I think one of the first things I wanted to do is everybody uses this term of cash flow, but just as simply as it is, as simply as you could put it, cash flow is the management of the movement of money in and out of a business. So in the realm of outfitting, Hunter, I'm asking you some more questions about your expenses, but most of your income is likely coming in from deposits and of sales and hunts that you're selling. And then all of your cash out is probably money going to your guides, to landowners, lease payments, so on and so forth. And, managing your cash flow is vital for running and growing and managing any business. And I feel like sometimes outfitters can lose sight of that. So I want to ask you directly, why do you think managing cash flow is important, in particular in the outfitting? And
honestly, it comes back to that's like the basis of everything. If you don't know how to manage your money, you're just never going to be able to fully succeed or succeed at your highest capability, because money is everything. I mean, especially in this industry, because you don't get, it's not like, say, a sales industry or a retail store or a restaurant or something where you have constant cash flow every day. Like for us, in the months of the summertime and it's off season, we're not getting final payments. It's all bookings. If we don't get bookings that month, we don't make money. And then if we don't manage that money we got from those bookings, then in July, say June, we don't manage our money properly. And in July, we don't get as many bookings. Oh, we're out of money, And it's like, there's nothing you can do about that other than fail. And failure is just, that's just not something anybody ever wants, right?
Yeah. Exactly. No, that's a really good way of putting it. I mean, is even just the seasonality that you encounter as an outfitter, right? And you have to be generating new sales and collecting those deposits, or you're not getting paid, you're not eating that month, So can you share a specific instance, whether it's like part of y'all's story of how, even a couple of years ago, y'all were just getting to the point where y'all could make six figures and go all in on this business, to where you guys are now and have several employees. Can you share a specific instance or story where managing cash flow has been critical to the success of Whiskey Sleuth?
Yeah, actually I can. Most recent one. We bought our brand new lodge on April 1st of 24. And obviously when we bought it, you got to put 20% of that money down to buy the house. And without delving too far into the details, you're looking at just short of six figures to put down on that house.
Right.
To get there, you have to manage your money. You have to save your money. You have to be able to control that. So, we knew that we wanted to buy a house for a new lodge to be able to run doubles and to expand back, years ago, 2 years ago. Slowly but surely, I just quietly started funneling money. We get, November, December, January. Those are six-figure months. Those are months where you're making up $250,000 a month, and final payments, deposits for spring seasons, and all of that tip money. You're making a lot of money in those months. And so when we were in those months of these last years and we were ahead of our budget, ahead of our cost income, I was funneling money, just started stockpiling it, getting it ready. And as that went on, we started growing. And as we started growing, we started collecting more deposits and more, all of that from this last season into this spring, and was able to stockpile more of that. And, sooner or later, when it came time to go, okay, it's time to pony up about $100,000 to buy this house. It wasn't an issue for us. It was something that we started planning for this since day one. Like, we've been prepared for this since it happened. And when it came time to go get that cashier's check for that much money to take it to our realtor, it wasn't something where I was going, oh my God, how am I going to pay for this? It was cool as a cucumber. I'm going to go grab my money and we're going to go get this done. And it all came back. It started off as little as, I was seriously, it was $500 a month. $500 a booking or whatever. You're talking minute amounts of cash to slowly start siphoning in. And then as we grew, as we had more excess cash left over, okay, it was $5,000 this time. All right, this time it was $8,000. I think the most I ever did at one transfer was 10. And sooner or later, like I said, we were prepared. And because of the way we managed it, how we kind of siphoned it out, it didn't ever affect us in day-to-day cash flow or month-to-month cash flow, even as a company. Just being prepared, like that's like the biggest win we had.
Yeah. Hunter, real quick, Joel, before you go on, I kind of want to pause on something really quick, because there's two different kind of varying opinions in the industry, or maybe just approaches. Hunter, why did you and your team think it was critical that you got your own lodge instead of continuing to lease the lodge that you're using?
All comes back to use of cash flow. Well, for example, the lodge that we leased before we bought ours, the cost of the lodge was $1,900 a month plus all your utilities. You're at the end of the thing about $2,300, and that was to run singles. That was to run one group of hunters. And so, if you want to go find another lodge of the same quality and rent that, it's going to cost about double. So let's just say 4,500, right? Meet in the middle there. 4,500 for 2 lodges to go run all of our clients. That $4,500 every single month when I swipe that card for $4,500 or send that wire transfer over, right? That money's gone. I'm getting nothing out of it. I'm not getting any equity. I'm not making it. All I'm doing is getting like that. Yeah, the money's making us money from the clients, right? But that money's not getting us anywhere. Whereas when we went and bought this house, the mortgage now after everything's all said and done, you're looking at $3,400 a month probably for everything after utilities and all of that. I mean, at the end of that $3,400, I'm saving, up to $1,100 a month as to what I would have been paying to run doubles. But B, at the end of that, I'm $3,400 closer to owning this house outright and having a growing, appreciating asset that is going to make us money in the future. And so for us, it was a no-brainer to own instead of rent.
Gotcha. And when y'all bought your house, this is one other thing before. Sorry, Joel, taking it off the course a little bit. I enjoy real estate topics.
I love this. That was gonna be my same question.
The lodge itself, when y'all bought it, was it in the condition? Was it a lodge when you bought it, or did you force equity by going in there and getting your hands dirty?
It was a fixer-upper in a way. The previous owners, they didn't take care of it. They barely took care of the yard. They didn't take care of the house. They didn't update anything. I mean, it was just, we bought the house for almost $100,000 under asking price when we bought it.
Awesome.
And that was because of the deteriorated fashion, and the curb appeal of the house was non-existent. The landscaping was trash. The yard was disgusting. Some of the inside of the house, all of that, it just needed so much work. And so when we bought it, we went through and we spent probably about $15,000 over the course of 15 days before our turkey clients came in, and we redid the house. We redid a lot of the house. I fixed the yard up. We redid all the landscaping. We ripped out all the ugly rock. We had it was like a tannish, pinkish rock up against a red brick, like a light red, almost pinkish brick, right? It contrasted really poorly. So ripped that out, put black mulch in, redid the whole barrier. I mean, we did so much stuff to the house. I mean, you could make a whole episode off all the shit we did to that damn house. But anyways, after it was all said and done, we had our banker come out and do a reappraisal, and with the $15,000 we spent, we added $70,000 in value to it, in sale value, and that was within 15 days of buying the house. And so 15 days later, we were out that money originally, but now we've got a house that we're at least $50,000 up on this house already, and we've only invested 15 into it after, obviously after buying it. And so, I mean, $35,000 of equity in 15 days is not something that you really want to bat an eye at. And it was, obviously it was grinding work. It was 12-hour days for all 10 of us. It was 12-hour days every single day, sun up to sundown, busting ass on this house, getting it ready for our clients. Once we got it and the first clients came in and they talked about how amazing it was and how good it looked and everything like that, it was all worth it, man. I mean, you forgot that you just worked 144 hours in the last 12 days. You forget about that. It's like almost a happiness kind of feeling you get, just a glory feeling. It's fucking awesome, basically.
The satisfaction of,
dude,
like it worked out. I was doing this for myself. And not only am I like building equity in a home that I own, but it's serving my business. It's serving my clients. These people are more likely to come back next year because of how that worked out. And
it's hard to put to words, because it just that, like our lodge and like our river property, all those properties that we own, we take so much pride in that. Like I said, it's just hard to put it to words as to how much it means to us to get to have these, to run as high level as they are.
Yeah. So kind of one comment and then back to a question is, I thought another interesting thing you were saying is, hey, when you're just paying for an Airbnb or paying for a lease or something like that, you're literally just swiping the card and it's gone. And now you're building equity in a home that, in the future, if you want to, you can leverage that property to get a new loan to, buy more land, buy another lodge, expand to a new state, like whatever it is that you guys want to do. And I think that's definitely the right way of thinking of it. I know that that's not reality for a lot of outfitters, and you guys are fortunate to be in a unique area to have executed in the way that you are, but it's definitely something that outfitters should think in the back of their mind as they're looking at kind of their 3 to 5 year growth plan. So my next question is around, like, we've talked about your income is mainly from deposits, trips on the calendar, booked first and second payments. So talk to me more about like the cash out component of your business. What are like the main expenses that, you know, a large and growing outfitter is facing every year? And how does it kind of change and fluctuate throughout the year, right? Is it in the spring and summer? Is it very different output or expenditures than in the busy fall, winter season? Talk to me a little bit about that.
You know, art of transparency, to run like a guide service like us, it costs us about $750,000 in a year to run it. Of that $750,000, you're probably going to see 450, 500,000 of that during guide season, if not more than even 600,000 of that during guide season. The big hitters, you're going to have salary, your lease payments, your food payments, like your lease is your food, your miscellaneous, you know, day-to-day operational expenses. You're going to have your gas budget and your vehicle. Like, so we have work trucks. We have two F-150s and stuff like that. And obviously to operate those, that's going to cost a lot of money. A lot of your like daily operational tasks, like food, miscellaneous budget, gas, salary, leases, day leases, all of that's like your big hitters. But then, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on the back end that a lot of outfitters don't even see. Like, we spend $30,000 a year on insurance. I mean, you're talking payroll, or I mean, not payroll, you're talking auto insurance, home insurance, general liability insurance, renter's insurance for like when we have it as an Airbnb or when clients are there. You're talking workers' comp, buyback deductible insurance on the house. I mean, there's about every type of insurance you could think of, we've got. And people don't think about those ones. Like, those are some huge hitter expenses, and people don't necessarily think about those when you're running a guide service. And like, another big one we had in this year was decoys. I mean, we got a container coming in from Final Approach for this year. That's $50,000 right then and there, and it's $50,000 at one time too. It's not $50,000 at, you know, as you break it down and pay it over months.
Paid out.
Hey, it's here. All right, I need you to wire $50,000 to me right now, kind of thing. That's just, there's a lot of those expenses that they add up quicker than a lot of people think they do. It can catch a guy quick. It really can.
Yeah. Next question is a question I can't believe I've had to argue with outfitters about in the past when we've been pitching them on GuideTech or showing them how it works. Some people are like, man, I don't need to worry about deposits. You know, if you say you're coming, you're coming. That's my guy. He showed up last year. He's definitely going to do it again. Can you talk to me about the importance of collecting deposits for trips in advance for your business? To some extent, like, what would you say to an outfitter that's saying like, oh man, I'm just going to collect deposits from new customers, but my existing guys that, you know, they're always good for it.
I'd say you got some balls.
What is the
try to do that? Because we don't do that shit. I mean, you could hunt with us. You could hunt with us. We have literally guys that have hunted with us 3 years in a row. We pick out their date. We say, all right, we're going to open our books in January. When we open our books in January, I'm going to call you. You got 7 days after I call you to pay your deposit, or your date's open. And you can get it later. You know, if it's still open later and you still want it, that's fine. But I'm telling other people it's open. And if someone else takes it, that you're shit out of luck, man. Like, I love all of our clients, and, you know, I love all of that, but I don't trust them. I don't trust anybody when it comes to that kind of stuff. I mean, if you say you're going to come, that's great. I mean, a handshake agreement, oh, I'll be there in December, you know, that's cool and all. Great, you have 7 days, give me my money, kind of thing. Like, We're just pretty, we run a lot more of a firm system than a lot of outfitters, but it's because our budget, the way we run our cash flow in a blunt way, we're not here to fuck around, basically. Like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it, and we want to do it right. And if we're going to do it right, we need to know that if this date's going to be taken, the cash needs to be acquired for it within 7 days. And it like you guys have talked, like you kind of said, a lot of outfitters don't do that. They go off a lot of an honor system of like, man, you know, Jim said he's good. He always pays me in August, and it's June, and Jim is going to pay me then. Well, what if you need Jim's money now, right? Or what if you need to what if you need, you know, what if August comes around and you've been holding that date for Jim, and Jim goes, I don't need it. And now you're got your pants down trying to figure out what to do to fill this date, and it's not working. And we just don't like to find ourselves in that position, and we just don't do it.
Yeah, I think that importance of having that steady cash flow coming in of deposits throughout the year, which, allows y'all to make those upgrades of, you've got 50 grand ready to go and buy decoys. And, and yeah, and I think like it really, it's been a standard for a while, but you see most of the highest level outfitters that are really operating at a high volume that are definitely requiring deposits. And like you mentioned, you can't have somebody just not show up for that week in December that they said they were coming, because not only are you not making that money from that guy, but there's the whole opportunity cost of all the people you turn away that wanted that date. So yeah, I mean, there's many reasons to do so. I think you did a really good example of explaining why that matters. So in that same topic, we're talking about why should an outfitter require deposits? How does GuideTech and using our system make it easier for you to collect and also manage your deposits, know when they're coming in, and how has that process kind of changed, evolved over time? How's it helped you?
It allows us to have like that peace of mind of knowing this booking is done, this money's collected, and it's just going through Stripe. And when you get those notifications, so like for example, we have a whole sales team, right? I have Grant and all of his guys that do sales. I don't have anything to do with that. Like, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I have the GuideTech app on my phone. You get the notification. You get those notifications every day that go, November 4 through 6 or whatever has been booked for Jim and 6 people, and you're like, nice. This is good shit.
Shit's moving.
But on the flip side of it, it's like with the Mallard Bay portal and all the listings that we have with Bennett and everything, it's just so easy to be like, hey guys, hey Bennett, we got this guy here. He's gonna bring his dog. He's got a veteran discount, whatever. Go on ahead and here and write this up. Here's his card. Let's run it through. And then Grant can go back to calling and Bennett's going to take care of all of it. And having that, it makes everything so much more efficient and streamlined. And then on top of that, say we're having issues. Say Jim's card didn't work, right? His final payment didn't go through. And you're like, well, what's going on, Jim? We're on our second hunt here and I don't got your money. What are we doing? Well, you can call Bennett and Bennett's going to take care of all of that. And you can focus on guiding your hunt still and not have to worry about it. And that kind of stuff, it is irreplaceable.
Yeah. Giving you your time back. I mean, that's really what this whole company was founded on and has evolved into, is making sure that you have the tools and even the team to make sure that you can deliver and execute on what you do best, which is guiding and delivering an amazing experience for your clients. So no, I think that was a really good thing to touch on. Next thing I want to get into is like the importance of like forecasting and budgeting for your business. Like you said, 2 years ago, you would have never been able, afford the lodge and the properties that you have now if you hadn't, forecasted and stayed on top of that. So how do you think about, forecasting for, say, the 2025 waterfowl season? At what point in the year do you really get serious about doing that and thinking that through? And then what is kind of your process of doing it?
We're doing it right now, actually, to be honest with you. So for like bookings calendar wise, every single year, June, late May, June into the 4th of July are dead months for booking. We never do hardly anything. Once you get past the 4th of July, it's almost like their brain just clicks and it's like, let's go duck hunting, let's go. And then it picks up. And then August gets way better. And then September on the first of season, it gets really good. It just kind of goes up and then it just kind of flatlines in September to peak interest, basically. And then forecasting wise, like you want to look ahead. You want to go, okay, well, I run a 60, 80, 100% financial analysis. So basically what I do is I take every single date that we have available, right? And then I take that times 85%, because you're just never going to fill a full season. You're going to have a single or, whatever. You're going to have someone back out or whatever. So I say I do a 60, 80, 100 of the 85%. So I say, okay, if we book 60% of our 85% of our duck season, 60% of the 85% of our duck season, we're going to make X. 80% X, 100% X. And it's like I go ahead and I project that out over this next year and go, okay, well, we can run X amount of dates, X amount of doubles, and 85% of that is that number. And it's just a big formula spreadsheet that computes all those numbers all together that tells me, hey, I can make up to X amount of money next year at 60, 80, and 100%. Now, then I can look back in our path and go, on the normal hand, we're making about 97% of the 85% of our income on all of our hunts. So I can go through and I can go, okay, last 2 years we've made 97% of the 85%. So you can plug that in and go, okay, 25, I'm going to make X amount of money. And then you can take that and you can take it and you can step it down even further. You can go, okay, well, of that 97% of the 85% that we're making, that's going to be 8K in teal and dove, and all that's going to come, half that's going to come in September. And of this is going to be, 250K of duck goose, and this is going to come in November. Part of this is going to come in December. Part of this is going to come in January. And you can break all of that down based on your packages in your program and everything that, all the dates that you're running. And then you can build out a forecast and you can go. So already right now, just judging off of what we've done last year on those numbers, I can project that in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, and April, we're going to make X, 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 and X of final payments. And then you can go through and go, okay, so I'm going to have X of all these expenses during that time, because during guide season, your expenses are roughly the same every month. Ours is anywhere from 50 to 75K a month of expenses. Of course, you have some one-time payments of like land down payment for the house or like a big mortgage payment for our land, other stuff like that can skew those numbers. But like general operating wise, they're probably about 50 to 75K a month. And you can go through and look at all of that and go, okay, well, throughout all these months, I'm already making X amount of money to cover all these expenses. Or you can go like, for example, you can look at September and go, holy shit, in September, I'm only going to make up to 20K in final payments, but I have 50K in expenses. By that time, I need to start funneling money aside for that. And whereas, like, for example, going into the summer months, you take June, July, August, May, where your bookings are just not going to be as fantastic as they would be, especially in May and June. And you can go, okay, well, it's January of say it's January of 25. I'm already stockpiling bookings, rebookings, all of that for next season. I need to stockpile 100, 150K in cash to make sure that when I get to June and July, I'm not going to have any hiccups. What I like to do, I run off a very standard basis. I plan on nothing. Like, obviously that's unrealistic, but I plan on, like, for June example, I plan on June making $0. I want to have all of the money to pay for June in a bank account before we even get to June, and then July, and then August. And you do that future forecasting and future planning to stay on top of all of that. And with the projections from the financial analysis, as well as the cost income statement with your monthly expenses, it sounds so complicated probably to a lot of people listening right now, but it all makes sense to me and us, and it's just kind of like the foundation of how we do everything and why we've been able to do what we do.
I think everybody who's listening right now just heard a big reason as to why Whiskey Sluice has been as successful as it is. Yeah. Not only are they tracking their finances, but the key part that he hit on is scenario analysis. So don't just assume that every single date and every single slot gets booked at 100%, because that's just not accurate. You should contingency plan different scenarios of 60%, 80% of your books getting filled on. And I know you're saying 100% of the 85, which is probably even in and of itself a conservative estimate. So no, I mean, that is huge. And I think that sounded complicated because I think to some extent what you have put together is very savvy and difficult, and maybe not that many outfitters are doing it. And just kind of like a plug into what GuideTech is trying to do is we're trying to make it to where people can more easily run those sorts of analysis of knowing when their payments are gonna hit and what amount, so that they can make those decisions like you just said. Okay, if we're gonna have $150,000 of deposits in August and only $25,000 of second payments in September, I need to make sure that I save X amount to cover those costs. And our new cash flow planning tool ideally will make it a lot easier for people to track that. So another question to what you were just mentioning, how do you think about pacing throughout the year? So let's say you were saying, okay, I need to make this much in January, or I need to make this much in December. How are you looking at the numbers as they're coming through and being like, okay, we're on pace with where we need to be this time of year, or we're off pace to what we need to do and do next? Like, if you're off on deposits for July 4th, what do you do in that instance to kind of get back on track?
Honestly, I have a good example, a real-time example this June. So you have your expense report, right? Your cost income statement. You go off first thing you want to do is you want to break even, obviously, right? You want to make all the money for your expenses. That's the first goal. Then the second goal is to stockpile cash. And it's like, for us, we want to make expenses and stockpile $250,000. Like, that's like our company's goal for the year. And so that'd be making $1 million. Doing that, you look at your pacing, you go, well, if I book from January to December, I book for 12 months. And if I'm trying to make $1 million in 12 months, that's going to be about 85, 90K a month, depending on how you look at it. That's how much we need to make in total bookings. And so you look at that and you can go through and go, okay, well, in January we made it, X and whatever. And like come June, we had, I don't know, I think we had like 500K or 400K or something, like 450K probably. And we didn't have, we were off pace. And so I said, okay, what we're going to do is we pulled more guys off of labor tasks and put them on the sales team. We upped our ad budget to bring in more numbers, and we adjusted and we hammered calls hard. We were making a couple thousand phone calls, talking to as many people as we can, hitting dead leads. We even went back to last year, 2022, 2023 season. We had 10,000 phone numbers from last year. We went back to last year's leads and cold called guys that never answered 10 times in a row. They did. We've booked them. We made money from them then. And we did all that. We battened down the hatches and kind of hustled in. And now we're back on track. We're right back on pace. But, if pacing's not there, you got to do something about it. You can't just go. You can sit there and say, hey, guys, we're fucking behind, man. We're behind. We're so far behind right now. It's not good. We gotta work harder, right? You can say that as much as you want, but until you actually initiate change and do something, it don't do nothing for you. And so when we get into those downturns, or if even another thing, you have Murphy's Law, right? If it can happen, it will. We run through that all sorts of season. We break trailers or side by sides or whatever, and all of a sudden here's 20 grand right there out the door. You weren't expecting that. Now were you? So now you got to adjust. Your pace is off. You got to come in. You got to pull from savings, and it's like it takes all of that comes together to having that mental preparedness of it's gonna happen. Like, be prepared for it with your pace. When we talk about pace, I'm also talking about funneling money into savings accounts for Murphy's Law. Like, I have one that's literally it's funny on our bank, on our like actual bank statement. It's called the bullshit fund, and like it's literally what I have it named. Have that bank account named, and I keep about 10-20 grand in there, and that's for if the side by side breaks. If the truck breaks down, if we need to go buy a new trailer, if something happens, if the AC unit goes out or the furnace goes out at the lodge or whatever happens, we can pay for it. And I've had to use it very much, but it's there. And the peace of mind you get is phenomenal. And then, like you talked about with pace, Joel, if you can pace through all those different things while you're making your money, staying on track for your big goals, if you pace into it and you go, I'm going to have a little money funnel here and a little money funnel to this savings account, by the time you actually need them, you're flush. And that's been critical. That's the big thing for us.
That was some really good like tactical examples, and this whole like podcast has been full of them. But I think one thing to really dial into is you were saying, you have to adapt. You have to change. You can't just sit there and be like, why is this happening? Why aren't people booking? Like, what's wrong? You have to go out and do something and enact change in and of yourself, right? And I think that's something that good outfitters are great at in practice in the field, but sometimes they don't want to apply it to their business, right? So if the birds continue to flare from this direction, or your hide is obviously busted, you're not just going to sit there and let that happen all evening. A good outfitter is going to go out and do something about it and make a change, make a call. And you can't just sit here and cuss at your guides and get frustrated about it. You have to go out and make a change. Yet so many outfitters are like unwilling to do that when it comes to their business, whether it's managing their business or figuring out ways business. They're just kind of stuck in their ways, yet their whole business is built on being able to adapt and change and grow. I think that's something that you guys have really embodied since day one, of having that clear vision of where you want to go, but also adapting and changing along the way.
Another thing to add to that is, like, I mean, as you guys can tell, when I talk about this kind of shit, I kind of ramble. You can feel the passion from when I talk. I mean, this is
Right.
this is like my thing in the company, right? It's important to have someone that this is their passion. Like, you got to have someone who lives and breathes the money, kind of like I do. Or, for example, with calls, you got to have someone like Grant who lives and breathes the calls and the bookings and stuff like that. You got to have people who truly have passion for that to run those jobs, because then you level of care and all of that. I mean, it's amplified almost, and it's how you make it go well. It's how you make it far. And like I said, you just having the right people for the right job is also really, really important.
That's such a good point. I mean, you could be a jack of all trades, really a master of none. And when you're able to, you and your team are able to differentiate and really narrow into what you need to be doing to drive the business forward, that's why you're seeing the success that you're having. And I think, to an outfitter who might be listening to this and is like, but it's just me, or it's just me and my wife, or me and my guides that, guide for 6 different people. What do I do? Well, that's where I would definitely extend the hand of, if you need help on the sales and the marketing, that is what GuideTech is built off of. And that's that, we want to be your outsourced team that can help you with that whole process. When it comes to managing your finances, like, our whole team is there for you. No, we're not going to file your taxes for you, but we can definitely step in and do what we can to, help you think through cash flow and pricing and stuff like that. So no, that was definitely a great call out right there. So to kind of bring things full circle, any final advice for outfitters who are really looking to improve their cash flow management? Like, let's say it's year 2 or 3. I've had some success. I have some repeat clients, but I really don't know what to do as far as planning for the future. And I want more insight into that. What would you tell that person?
I'd say start small. I mean, first look ahead and go, okay, what are my expenses for the next month? You write all that down. Then, okay, let's go to the next month. And then you can write all that out, plan yourself out a year or 2 ahead in expenses and go, this is what it's going to cost me to run my business for the next 12 months or 24 months. And then think about your wants. Okay, I want to have a lodge. I want to have a work truck. I want to have a new side-by-side or whatever. Factor that in. Okay, well, I want to buy that side-by-side on December of 24. Okay, well, it's July, August almost. I need to save X amount of money to buy this by then. So then factor that into your expenses. Factor your savings into your expenses. And then run like some projectional analysis or some financial analysis and look at your income, look at your bookings, and you can kind of start to piecemeal all that together. It's like I said, start small. Start with a month. Start 2 months ahead. And then you're going to get the hang of it. It might be a bitch for a month or 2 of trying to figure out how to learn it all and understanding it, but then you will. And then once you do that, it's really easy to look ahead and go, okay, well, in 24 months, I want to buy a lodge. And to do that, I'm going to need X amount of money. So I'm going to add this into my expenses, and you can project out. And sooner or later, I feel like it just will come naturally. It'll almost just become a part of like the job or a part of the life of that company. And I think that's probably the best way I can say it really is start small and don't be afraid. Like, a lot of people, when they look at all those numbers on the sheet, for example, you look at a cost income sheet for us, like I said, it says $750,000 on there, right? That's a lot of fucking money. That's not something to bat an eye about. A lot of people look at that, and that can scare some people. Those numbers, that can make their head go, oh my God, all this money I got to spend. But it's like, don't be afraid. Take a deep breath, break it down, and look at it month to month, week to week, day to day, and it's not that bad. And just ease into it, basically.
100%. To your point, like, knowledge is power, and just, expecting for these numbers and these expenses and income to just level out on their own without being intentional is, it's lunacy, right? You have to, the first step to like growing and getting back on track and really having intentional growth is to know the numbers, as objectively as they are. So I love what you said of like, if you're just looking months and you want to start small, list out your expenses, fixed expenses that you're going to have to pay, lease expenses, guides, whatever it may be. And then you can back into that income number of, okay, how many hunts do I need to book to cover those dates? And it's a really interesting exercise. Again, GuideTech Malibu, we're here for you if you want to walk through it with us. But I think this was super helpful. I learned a lot. I know that some outfitters who are listening will have as well. So Garrett, I'll kick it over to you. Anything else?
Yeah. Hunter, do you have anything before I wrap it up, man?
No, I think this has been a great episode. I think that we've covered a lot of great topics, and it'll be real helpful.
Cool. Yeah. Well, guys, again, so if you enjoyed this class that Hunter just put on, the Cash Flow King, the Dave Ramsey of the outdoor industry, if you enjoyed it, make sure to share it. Share it with anyone else. Like and subscribe, whatever you do on whatever platform you're listening to make sure you get notified when a new GuideTech podcast comes out. We appreciate y'all joining along, and we'll see you next week on the GuideTech Podcast.